First Contact. The Galactic University's reputation for challenging assignments was legendary, but Professor Xylax's Sub-Biology 101 class took it to an entirely new level. As Zarp's tentacles drooped dramatically in the anti-gravity study pod, he wondered if they'd made a terrible mistake choosing this elective. "Remind me again why we thought this was a good idea," he gurgled to his study group, his chromatophores shifting to a dejected shade of blue. Bleep Bloop, the robotic exchange student, whirred sympathetically. "Statistical analysis suggests we are indeed masochists with a 99.9% probability." A series of rapid beeps followed, their equivalent of laughter. "Oh, come on guys." Flutterby's arrow wings fluttered with characteristic enthusiasm, sending sparkles of bioluminescence through the study pod. "It's not that bad. We just have to choose a Class 12 Deathworld and write a comprehensive report on its dominant species. How hard can it be?" The rest of the alien students stared at her in disbelief, their various appendages and sensory organs conveying a universal message of, "Are you kidding me?" Gurgle Snort, the gelatinous blob of the group, bubbled sarcastically. "Oh sure, a piece of cake. Let's just pop over to a planet that could kill us in 1,000 different ways before we even land. Sounds like a lovely field trip." As the group wallowed in their collective misery, Zorp's eye stalk suddenly perked up. "Wait a minute, what about that backwater planet in the Sol system? You know, the one with the bipedal apes that somehow haven't managed to blow themselves up yet? Earth?" Bleep Bloop's processors whirred as they accessed their databanks. Classified as a Class 12 Death World. Extremely diverse ecosystem. Highly adaptable dominant species known for their inexplicable ability to survive against all odds. And the robot paused for dramatic effect, their LED displays flickering. "No alien species has ever successfully completed a full study without complications." Complications? Flutterby's wings fluttered nervously. "What kind of complications?" "Oh, you know," Zorp waved a tentacle dismissively, "the usual. Crashed ships, lost probes, accidental alien autopsies. Nothing we can't handle." "Nothing we can't handle?" Gurgle Snort bubbled incredulously. "Have you lost your neural clusters? We're talking about a planet where the dominant species uses explosions as entertainment." "Exactly!" Zorp exclaimed, his eye stalks gleaming with excitement. "Think about it, if we can pull this off, we'll be legends. The first students in the history of Galactic University to successfully study Earth up close and personal." There was a moment of silence as the group contemplated this, then slowly, tentacles, appendages, and gelatinous pseudopods raised in agreement. "Fine," Gurgle Snort burbled resignedly, "but if I end up as some human's gelatin dessert, I'm blaming you." 2 Earth weeks later, their cloaked research vessel, the Academic Pursuit, hovered in low Earth orbit. The blue-green marble below them seemed deceptively peaceful. "Beautiful," Flutterby whispered, her compound eyes reflecting the swirling clouds and vast oceans. "It's terrifying," Gurgle Snort countered, his gelatinous form quivering slightly. "Look at all that water. Do you know what water does to my kind? It's not pretty." Zorp, who had somehow become the de facto leader of this potential disaster, waved his tentacles authoritatively. "All right, team. We'll land in a remote area, observe the humans from a safe distance, collect our data, and be back in time for the Galactic Bachelor finale. Any questions?" Bleep Bloop raised a metallic appendage. "Yes. What's our contingency plan for when, not if, but when, this all goes horribly wrong?" "Improvise," Zorp replied with what he hoped was a confident gurgle. "We're doomed," Gurgle Snort bubbled morosely. Their landing site was a dense forest in what their database identified as the Pacific Northwest region of the North American continent. As they emerged from their ship, each wearing their species-appropriate environmental suits, they were immediately struck by the intensity of Earth's gravity. "By the Great Void!" Zorp gasped, his tentacles straining against the pull. "How do humans move in this?" Flutterby, whose delicate wings were practically useless in the heavy atmosphere, nodded in agreement. It's like flying through pudding. Really heavy pudding. Bleep Bloop, being the only one not affected by the gravity, beeped smugly. Advantages of a metal exoskeleton, organic friends. Show off, Gurgle Snort burbled, his gelatinous form flattened against the ground like a very unhappy pancake. As they struggled to adjust to Earth's conditions, their first encounter with local wildlife proved that their database was woefully inadequate. What should have been a harmless deer revealed itself to be a fearsome creature with razor-sharp fangs and a bone-chilling roar. Error. Error. Bleep Bloop's processors whirred frantically. Earth database corrupted. Herbivore is not supposed to have fangs. Does not compute. Their panicked retreat might have ended in disaster if not for the timely intervention of a human named Bob, who dispatched the creature, which he called a jackalope, with casual ease. Well, I'll be damned, Bob drawled, tipping his hat back. When my buddy Cletus said he saw a chupacabra out here, I thought he'd been hitting the moonshine again. But this takes the cake. To their surprise, Bob wasn't fazed by their alien presence. Instead, he invited them to his cabin for dinner, treating their appearance as if it were no more unusual than encountering tourists from another state. As they followed Bob through the forest, Zorp couldn't help but feel they'd stumbled into something far beyond their academic preparations. Earth, it seemed, was going to be full of surprises. Bob's cabin turned out to be a fascinating contradiction, a rustic wooden structure filled with an impossible mix of primitive tools and advanced technology that shouldn't exist on Earth yet. Is that a flux capacitor next to a butter churn? Bleep Bloop beeped in confusion. Sure is. Bob grinned, already busy preparing what he called jackalope stew. Built it myself. Still working out the kinks, but I'm pretty sure I almost traveled through time last Tuesday. Or was it next Tuesday? Time travel's a bit fuzzy, you know. As the alien students exchanged bewildered glances, they realized their simple field research assignment had just become far more complicated. Earth wasn't just a Class 12 Deathworld, it was something else entirely, something their textbooks had failed to prepare them for. And this was only their first day. Say, Bob called out from his makeshift kitchen, any of you folks ever hear about the time I wrestled a Sasquatch for the last slice of pizza? Now that's a story worth telling. The alien students settled in for what promised to be an interesting evening, their data recorders running at maximum capacity. Professor Zylax was going to have a hard time believing any of this, assuming they survived long enough to submit their report. Down the rabbit hole. Bob's jackalope stew bubbled ominously in a pot that appeared to be half cauldron, half quantum reactor. The alien students watched in fascination as their host added ingredients that defied both logic and several laws of physics. The secret, Bob explained, stirring the pot with what looked suspiciously like a lightsaber handle, is to add the time-displaced oregano right when the quantum fluctuations peak. Gives it that extra zing. Bleep Bloop's probability circuits were working overtime. According to all available data, Earth shouldn't have this level of technology. The temporal paradox alone should. Shouldn't, schmoldn't. Bob interrupted cheerfully. That's your first lesson about Earth, friends. Nothing here plays by the rules. You think that's weird? Wait till you meet my neighbor Martha. She's got a garden where the vegetables argue about philosophy. Before anyone could process that statement, a series of sharp knocks echoed through the cabin. Bob's expression shifted from jovial to serious in an instant. Quick, hide. That's the weekly Weird News crew. They've been trying to prove I'm harboring extraterrestrial visitors for months. He paused. Which, I guess I am now. Ha. The alien students scrambled for cover. Zorp wedged his tentacles behind a bookshelf, Flutterby camouflaged herself against a tie-dye tapestry, and Gurgle Snort disguised himself as a particularly ambitious bowl of jello. Bleep Bloop simply stood in a corner, activating their definitely just a vintage robot sculpture mode. The door burst open, revealing a woman with wild hair and a camera crew. Bob Henderson. Our viewers have reported strange lights and unusual activities around your property. Care to comment? Evening, Nancy, Bob drawled, casually positioning himself in front of the still bubbling stew. Strange lights. Must have been my quantum moonshine still acting up again. You know how it is, 1 minute you're making artisanal spirits, next thing you know you've accidentally created a minor dimensional rift. Nancy's eyes narrowed. And the reports of unusual beings? Probably just Larry's escaped genetic experiments. Nothing to worry about. Larry's what? Zorp whispered from behind the bookshelf. Oh, right, Bob whispered back. Forgot to mention, my other neighbor's a retired mad scientist. Real nice guy, makes excellent coffee. Bit too fond of splicing DNA though. Nancy prowled around the cabin, her camera crew documenting everything. She paused near Gurgle Snort's Jell-O disguise. Since when do you make dessert, Bob? Taking up new hobbies. Very therapeutic. Speaking of which, isn't it time for your weekly Bigfoot stakeout? Nancy checked her watch and gasped. The lunar alignment. You're right, this could be the night we finally catch them having their monthly book club meeting. She rushed out, her crew trailing behind her. Once they were gone, the aliens emerged from hiding. Book club? Flutterby asked. Oh yeah, Bob nodded. Bigfoot's really into postmodern literature. The Loch Ness Monster runs a rival club, but they're more into classic romance novels. Causes quite a bit of drama at the annual cryptid convention. This planet makes no sense. Gurgle Snort burbled in frustration. Our scientific databases clearly state. That's your second lesson, Bob interrupted, returning to his stew. Your databases. They're about as useful here as a chocolate teapot in a sauna. Earth operates on its own special brand of logic. The sooner you accept that, the better. As if to prove his point, a miniature tornado burst through the window, stole a cookie from the counter, apologized politely, and whirled away. See? Perfectly normal Tuesday afternoon. Bob grinned. Now, who's hungry? The meal turned out to be surprisingly edible, even for their vastly different physiologies. As they ate, Bob shared stories that made their heads spin, tales of underground civilizations, conspiracy theories that were apparently just weekly newsletters, and something called Florida Man that they unanimously agreed to study from a very, very safe distance. But how does all this stay secret? Zorp asked, gesturing with a tentacle at the obviously advanced technology scattered around the cabin. Surely you're global media. Bob laughed. Third lesson, Earth's got great marketing. Everything weird gets labeled as either a hoax, mass hysteria, or viral advertising. Works like a charm. Plus, most humans are too busy arguing about whether hot dogs are sandwiches to notice the really strange stuff. Are they? Bleep Bloop asked, genuinely curious. That debate caused 3 minor wars and 1 major peace treaty. We don't talk about it anymore. As night fell, Bob offered them shelter in his barn, which turned out to be bigger on the inside and equipped with gravity adjusters for their comfort. Got it in a trade with some fellow from Gallifrey, he explained. Nice chap, bit odd about bow ties. But their rest was interrupted by an urgent pounding on the barn door. It was Martha, Bob's philosopher vegetable-growing neighbor, looking panicked. Bob. The Carrots are organizing a protest. They've been reading too much Kant, and now they're demanding better soil conditions and philosophical discourse on the nature of their existence. Bob sighed, grabbing what looked like a gardening tool crossed with a debate podium. Duty calls. You folks make yourselves at home. Just don't go in the basement, the spatial anomaly is acting up again, and I haven't fed the quantum pythons yet. As Bob rushed off to deal with the vegetable uprising, the alien students gathered for an emergency meeting. This is incredible. Flutterby exclaimed. We could write the most amazing report. If anyone would believe us, Gurgle Snort interjected. Our professors will think we made it all up. Solution proposed, Bleep Bloop beeped. We need evidence. Documentary proof. Tomorrow, we should. They were interrupted by a loud bang from the basement, followed by what sounded suspiciously like quantum pythons attempting to solve advanced calculus problems. Tomorrow, Zorp decided firmly, we start our proper investigation. There's clearly more to Earth than anyone at Galactic University ever suspected. Assuming we survive that long, Gurgle Snort added morosely. From outside, they could hear Bob engaging in philosophical debate with revolutionary root vegetables. Just another night on Earth, apparently. As they settled in for the night, none of them noticed the small drone hovering outside, its camera focused on their barn. In a secret underground facility hundreds of miles away, a group of figures watched their feed with great interest. Sir, one said to a shadowy figure, Operation Backyard Alien has new subjects. The figure nodded. Excellent. Deploy the ice cream truck. Earth, it seemed, had plans of its own for its extraterrestrial visitors. The plot thickens. The ice cream truck arrived at dawn, playing a melody that somehow combined an innocent jingle with quantum harmonics. Bleep Bloop sensors went haywire. Alert! That vehicle's power signature exceeds several small stars, they beeped urgently. Bob burst into the barn, wearing pajamas covered in mathematical equations that solved themselves. Quick! Into the emergency bunker. You have an emergency bunker? Zorp asked, his tentacles curling in surprise. Technically, it's a pocket dimension I won during a game of interdimensional poker, but that's not important right now. They barely made it inside before the ice cream truck deployed its transformation sequence. Panels shifted, gears whirred, and suddenly they were facing a mobile command center disguised as a dessert delivery vehicle. Men in plaid. Bob muttered. Haven't seen them since the Great Conspiracy Convention of '99. Men in what? Flutterby whispered. Like the Men in Black, but more fashion-forward. They investigate the investigators. Started as a breakaway faction after a heated debate about dress codes. A figure emerged from the transformed truck, wearing an impeccably coordinated plaid suit. Bob Henderson. We know you're harboring extraterrestrial academics. The quantum signature of their homework is unmistakable. Agent Argyle, Bob called back. Still bitter about losing that tartan pattern UFO to me at the yard sale? That was rightfully MIP property. You outbid us with counterfeit cryptocurrency. The Bigfoot Banking Coalition certified those bitcoins as legally tender. While they argued, Gurgle Snort noticed something odd about the pocket dimension. Friends? Is that shelf of emergency supplies supposed to be evolving? They turned to see cans of beans developing consciousness and forming a primitive society. One can had already declared itself emperor. Whoops, Bob said. Forgot about the accelerated temporal field in this corner. Don't make eye contact, they're going through their imperial phase. Agent Argyle's voice boomed through a megaphone. We're prepared to offer a deal. Hand over the aliens, and we'll give you exclusive access to the government's secret stash of reality-bending rubber ducks. Counteroffer. Bob shouted back. You leave us alone, and I won't tell everyone about the karaoke incident at last year's interdimensional office party. There was a long pause. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I still have the video of you attempting to sing, I Will Survive, in 7 dimensions simultaneously. The ice cream truck deflated slightly. This isn't over, Henderson. It transformed back into its disguise and drove away, its jingle now playing in a minor key. Right, Bob said, turning to the aliens. Good news, immediate crisis averted. Bad news, we should probably move. I know a place, but... He glanced at his watch, which appeared to be counting in both seconds and alternative realities. We'll need to make a few stops first. Their first stop was Martha's garden, where the philosophical vegetables had established a democratic republic. The carrots were holding elections, while the tomatoes debated the nature of consciousness. Fascinating, Bleep Bloop observed. They've developed a complex political system based on photosynthetic rights. Martha. Bob called. Need to borrow your reality-shifting wheelbarrow. Martha emerged from a greenhouse where quantum physics and organic farming had produced some interesting results. Take it. The zucchini are trying to prove string theory again, and I need a break. Their next stop was Larry's house, the retired mad scientist neighbor. His front yard featured a white picket fence that occasionally phased through different dimensions. Larry, wearing a lab coat covered in equations that rewrote themselves, was trying to calm down what appeared to be a cross between a peacock and a Wi-Fi router. Bob. Just in time. Want to see my latest experiment? I've nearly perfected the combination of bird and modern technology. Love to, but we're in a bit of a situation. Need to borrow your portable probability manipulator. The one that makes unlikely events slightly more likely, or the one that makes impossible things mildly inconvenient? The second one. Larry disappeared into his garage, returning with what looked like a TV remote crossed with a kaleidoscope. Just don't press the red button unless you want to turn paradoxes into palindromes. As they collected their borrowed equipment, Zorp noticed movement in the bushes. We're being watched. Indeed, several pairs of eyes gleamed from the shrubbery. One bush cleared its throat. We represent the Conspiracy Theory Control Board. Your activities have exceeded the recommended daily allowance of weird. Oh no, Bob groaned. Not the CTCB. They're the worst. Ever since they tried to standardize UFO designs. Your current situation ranks 8.7 on the bizarrometer, the bush continued. Please reduce the strange quotient by either eliminating the interdimensional physics or the talking vegetables. But not both. We have quotas to maintain. Counterproposal, Bob said. What if we add some cryptozoological elements to balance it out? The bushes huddled in discussion. Acceptable. Please proceed with your regularly scheduled weirdness. As they headed back to Bob's barn, Gurgle Snort bubbled anxiously. Our field research has spiraled out of control. We should return to the university. Can't, Bob said. The men in Plaid will be watching all interdimensional travel routes. Besides, we need to reach the safety of the cloud forest first. The what forest? It's a forest that exists partially in the clouds. Very exclusive. Run by a collective of weather-controlling squirrels. They owe me a favor after I helped them upgrade their acorn-based supercomputer. Before they could question this further, their path was blocked by a group of conspiracy theorists led by Nancy from the Weekly Weird News. Aha, she exclaimed. I knew something was happening. Our viewers deserve the truth about. She checked her notes, quantum vegetables, alien students, and dimensional pocket lint. The truth? Bob laughed. Nancy, your viewers can't handle the truth about what really goes on in my sock drawer, let alone this situation. Try us. Our ratings could use the boost. Fine, Bob sighed. But first, you should know about the shadow organization that's really controlling everything. The Illuminati? No, the Procrastinators Anonymous Time Travel Division. They're behind everything, they just haven't gotten around to admitting it yet. As Nancy's crew frantically took notes, the alien students realized their simple biology assignment had evolved into something far more complex. Somewhere in the Galactic University, Professor Xilax was about to receive the strangest field research report in academic history. Assuming, of course, they survived long enough to write it. Cloud Forest Revelations. The journey to the Cloud Forest involved 3 reality shifts, 2 temporal loops, and one very confused pizza delivery guy who somehow managed to find them between dimensions. How? Zorp asked, staring at the steaming boxes. Oh, Pietro's Pizza has an interdimensional delivery guarantee, Bob explained, paying with what looked like meteorite fragments. 30 minutes or free, across all known and theoretical planes of existence. The cloud forest lived up to its name. Massive trees floated among the clouds, their branches intertwined with weather patterns. Lightning squirrels darted between the boughs, maintaining complex atmospheric equipment. "Welcome to Weather Control Station Alpha," chirped a particularly sophisticated squirrel wearing a tiny lab coat and safety goggles. "Bob, you still owe us an upgrade for the quantum nutcracker." "I brought pizza," Bob offered. "Acceptable currency. Follow me." The station itself was a marvel of organic technology. Trees had been grown into computer terminals, while clouds formed interactive displays showing weather patterns across multiple realities. "Fascinating," Bleep Bloop beeped, their sensors struggling to process everything. "This completely contradicts Earth's documented technological level." "About that," the squirrel scientist said, pulling up a holographic display made of morning dew. "We've been meaning to talk to someone from the galactic community. You see, Earth isn't exactly what you think it is. We noticed," Gurgle Snort bubbled sarcastically. "No, you don't understand. Earth isn't just a death world. It's a containment world." Silence fell, broken only by the distant sound of lightning squirrels debugging the rain matrix. "Containment, for what?" Flutterby asked nervously. "Reality itself." The squirrel pulled up more displays. "You see these anomalies? Places where physics takes a coffee break. Where probability does cartwheels. That's not random. Earth was designed as a pressure valve for the universe." Bob nodded solemnly. "Think about it. Why do you think so many weird things happen here? Why reality is more of a suggestion than a rule? The planet acts as a release valve for cosmic weirdness. Without Earth, the universe would have collapsed under the weight of its own logic long ago. But the humans," Zorp began, "are the ultimate adapters," the squirrel finished. "They evolved to survive in a place where reality itself is unstable. That's why they can handle everything from quantum physics to talking vegetables without having an existential crisis. They're the universe's ultimate chaos managers." Before they could process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the station. The holographic displays flickered with urgent red warnings. "Oh no," the squirrel muttered. "The Reality Regulation Department is here. Someone must have filed a complaint about unauthorized revelations of cosmic secrets." "The what department?" Flutterby asked. "They're the beings who maintain the official narrative about Earth being just another primitive planet. Very dedicated to keeping up appearances. Very annoyed when people like us start explaining things." Through the clouds, they could see a fleet of what looked like office buildings flying on giant bureaucratic wings made of red tape. "Quick!" Bob shouted. "To the emergency reality displacement device." "The what?" "That slide over there made of crystallized improbability." They rushed to the slide just as the first reality regulators emerged from their flying buildings, wielding terrible weapons of mass bureaucracy. "Stop in the name of maintained ignorance," they called. "We have Form 47B, cessation of unauthorized enlightenment. No time for paperwork." Bob yelled, pushing them toward the slide. "When you reach the bottom, whatever you do, don't think about penguins." They slid through layers of reality, each more bizarre than the last. Gurgle Snort accidentally thought about penguins and briefly turned into a quantum-entangled snow cone. Bleep Bloop's programming temporarily reversed, causing them to speak in interpretive dance. Flutterby developed temporary omniscience, which gave her a slight headache. They landed in what appeared to be a secret underground library, where books wrote themselves and card catalogs engaged in philosophical debates about the Dewey Decimal System. "The Forbidden Archive," Bob whispered. "The reality regulators hate this place. Too much truth in one spot. Welcome, seekers of knowledge." A librarian materialized from between the shelves, her glasses refracting light from dimensions that shouldn't exist. Here to check out some forbidden wisdom. We're having a special on paradigm shifts this week. Actually, Zorp said, an idea forming in his neural clusters, we need to write a biology report. Ah, students. The librarian brightened. Assignment about Earth's true nature as a cosmic reality pressure valve. Third aisle on the left, right between things man was not meant to know and understanding tax laws, really advanced forbidden knowledge. As they researched, pieces started falling into place. The impossible creatures, the casual disregard for physics, Bob's reality-bending cabin, it all made sense if Earth was essentially the universe's pressure release valve. But why keep it secret? Flutterby wondered. Imagine the tourism, the librarian exclaimed. We'd be overrun with reality tourists trying to experience Earth's unique properties. The gift shops alone would cause 17 different apocalypses. Suddenly, the library's warning system activated. Alert! Reality audit in progress. All impossible books, please maintain plausible deniability. They found us, Bob groaned. But how? Someone filed their Form 47B in triplicate, the librarian said grimly. Very thorough bureaucracy. As reality regulators began materializing between the shelves, armed with erasers that could delete knowledge itself, the alien students faced a choice: run again, or stand and fight for the truth about Earth. Zorp looked at his fellow students, then at Bob and the librarian. Anyone know how to weaponize card catalogs? The librarian smiled wickedly. I thought you'd never ask. The final chapter. The Forbidden Archive erupted into organized chaos. Card catalogs launched index cards like ninja stars, while the librarian conducted her defense with a tactical ruler. Reference section, deploy knowledge bombs, she commanded. Periodicals, establish a perimeter. The reality regulators advanced through the stacks, their bureaucratic weapons at ready. Cease this unauthorized distribution of cosmic truth. We have forms to file. Bleep Bloop interfaced with the library's ancient computer system. Fascinating. The catalog isn't just organized by subject, it's organized by alternative realities. Of course, the librarian said, deflecting an administrative memo with her ruler. How else would you cross-reference parallel universes? Zorp grabbed a floating encyclopedia. We need to get this information back to the university. The galaxy needs to know the truth about Earth. Not if we can help it, declared the lead regulator, brandishing a rubber stamp of ultimate denial. Earth must maintain its cover as a simple death world. Do you have any idea how much paperwork interdimensional revelation generates? Bob pulled out Larry's probability manipulator. What if we could make it worth your while? The regulators paused. We're listening. Think about it. Instead of suppressing the truth, why not regulate it? Imagine the possibilities: licensed reality tours, certified chaos observation, bureaucratically approved weirdness permits. The paperwork potential. The lead regulator whispered, eyes gleaming. Gurgle Snort burbled excitedly. We could be the test case. Our research paper could be the first officially sanctioned documentation of Earth's true nature. Under proper regulatory oversight, of course, Flutterby added quickly. The regulators huddled for a consultation, filling out several forms in the process. Meanwhile, the lightning squirrels from the cloud forest arrived through an emergency quantum tunnel. We've got your backs, their leader chirped, wielding tiny weather control devices. Nobody messes with our research partners. Finally, the regulators reached a decision. Proposal accepted, pending proper documentation. Please fill out these reality revelation permission forms. In triplicate. Wait, Zorp said, if we're revealing Earth's true nature, what about the men in plaid? Oh, them. Bob laughed. They're actually a subdivision of the Reality Regulation Department. Plaid division, obviously. Agent Argyle stepped out from behind a bookshelf, straightening his Technicolor tie. Indeed. We just needed to test your worthiness to handle the truth. Plus, I really did want that tartan UFO back. Here, Bob tossed him a set of keys. Consider it a goodwill gesture. The quantum navigation's a bit glitchy though, it only plays Scottish folk music while traveling through wormholes. With agreements signed, and properly filed, the alien students finally had their story. Earth wasn't just a death world, it was the universe's pressure valve, a place where reality itself came to let its hair down. The humans weren't just survivors, they were cosmic caretakers, evolving to manage a planet where the impossible was just Tuesday afternoon's entertainment. Their apparent primitiveness was the ultimate camouflage, hiding their true role as reality's maintenance crew. You know what this means? Flutterby said excitedly. We're going to get an amazing grade on our report. Assuming Professor Zylax doesn't have a mental breakdown reading it, Gurgle Snort added. Don't worry, the librarian smiled. I'll attach a reality verification certificate. And a small temporal stabilizer, just in case the truth causes any localized physics failures at your university. As they prepared to leave, Bob handed them each a business card. For your next field trip. Earth's always happy to host serious researchers. Just. He grinned, try to file the proper paperwork next time. The card read. Earth. Universal Pressure Valve and Reality Management Service. Where the impossible takes a holiday. Proper permits required for metaphysical tourism. Back at Galactic University, their report caused exactly the right amount of controlled chaos. Professor Zylax had to take a brief vacation in a dimension where physics still made sense, but ultimately gave them top marks for revolutionary insights into cosmic maintenance systems. Their paper became required reading in Subbiology 101, with a warning label, Caution, understanding Earth may cause temporary reality distortion. In case of existential crisis, consult your local reality regulator. As for Bob, last they heard, he was helping the lightning squirrels upgrade their weather control system with some, slightly impossible, improvements. The philosophical vegetables had started a university of their own, the quantum pythons had solved most of advanced mathematics, though their proofs were a bit hard to read, and Martha's garden had achieved enlightenment, but still produced excellent tomatoes. And somewhere in the Forbidden Archive, a new book wrote itself, titled A Beginner's Guide to Earth, where reality goes to relax. The librarian gave it a prime spot, right between Things That Think Too Much and The Complete History of Future Events. After all, every good story deserves proper filing.